Hello soulmates, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Treasure Peter and this is Treasure's Craft. Today I'll be making this beautiful short bubu gown that has beautiful ruffles around the front pocket and a standing collar neckline. I got my inspiration from this. Stick around to the end if this is something you're interested in, and please do not forget to like, comment and also subscribe if you've not subscribed to the channel yet. Thank you. So guys, to make this gown you'll be needing at least 3 yards of Ankara material and half yard of organza. You may choose to use a plain and pattern material or a material that has the design just like the inspiration. This was the Ankara that I had available and I just had to make use of it. So we'll be folding the front and the back together. In folding it, you need to first fold it into 2 before folding it into 4 in order to get the front and the back. In order to determine the width that you'll be using, try to get your shoulder measurement divided by 2 plus the length of your sleeves, the length of your desired sleeves. So go ahead to measure your sleeves length and whatever you have, add it to your shoulder measurement divided by 2 to get the width of your folding. But don't forget to add the allowance for the folding of the sleeves. So the first thing you go ahead to do is to draw out your starting line. This is actually the beginning line and also the shoulder line. And then from that starting line, go ahead to take your desired length of gown. Don't forget to add your hemming allowance as well as the joining allowance for the shoulder. So for mine, my desired length was 37, but I made use of 38.5, ½ inch for joining at the shoulder and 1 inch for hemming at the down part. From the shoulder line, you go ahead to measure and mark your shoulder measurement divided by 2. From that point where you mark your shoulder measurement divided by 2, measure and mark the length of your desired sleeves. And don't forget to add your hemming allowance. So for the neckline, I made use of a neck width of 3 inches and a neck depth for the back of 1 inch. And then for the front, I made use of a neck depth of 3 inches also. Then I used my free hand to curve and form the neck. At the hem of your sleeves, come down by 1 inch for the shoulder slant. Then draw a slant line to connect to the neck width. So guys, I'm so sorry at this point. I didn't know that my video stopped recording because my storage was full. So let me just try to explain what I did. Yeah, I came down by 1 inch at this sleeve point and connected it to the neck width. Then I measured the round sleeves at this point. So whatever you want to get as your round sleeves at that point, measure it and take what you have. For mine, I wanted to make use of 16 inches, so I added additional 1.5 inch. ½ inch to join at the up part and 1 inch to join at this down part. Then I mark a straight line at that point to serve as the bust line. I also measured to get the hip line at 25 inches and also draw a line across like this. Then I went ahead to take my bust measurement divided by 4. I marked what I had here and I added additional 5 inches and then I connected a straight line. I also measured my hip measurements divided by 4 at this hip line. I marked what I had and added additional 4 inches. Then connected to be a straight line from the up part to the end of the gown. Then I curved it at this point to form the armhole. So that was just what I did, and as you can see, it's something very easy. So at this point, I had gone ahead to cut it out. I went ahead to cut the neckline, but only the back neckline, and also cut the shoulder slant. So that was the point I was before my camera seized. So let me just continue with the cutting. So guys, at this point, I removed the inner part to be the back piece, and I proceeded to cut out the neckline for the front piece. So next thing I did was to come down by 4 inches and then I went ahead to open it up for the opening of the front, but I'll advise that you use up to 5 inches because it was a little bit difficult for me to wear the gown. The neck was too small, so I'll advise you make use of 5 inches for yours. At this point, I've gone ahead to cut out the facing for the front neck. So I'll be using this facing to turn the opening of this front neck. There will be no need to actually turn the neck itself. This is because we'll be adding the standing collar. So I'm going to make use of hemming gum to turn it. And I'm going to also turn it with 1/4 of an inch. Then I will notch it with my scissors and iron it very well. After turning it, this is it. This is how neat it should be. As for the neck part, I went ahead to top stitch round it. So I'll just go ahead to join the shoulder of the back to the shoulder of the front, placing the good side on the good side. I'll be joining both sides with ½ inch. After joining it, this is it. The next thing I'll go ahead to do now is to hem the sleeves with my allowance. After hemming the sleeves, I'll go ahead to fix the neck collar. So I went ahead to measure around the neck to get the total neck width. For mine, I had about 16 inches. So in order to cut the standing neck collar, I made use of this pattern paper. I have the length to be 5.5 inch and the width to be 9 inches. So the first thing I did, at the down part, I measured 2 inches upwards and marked what I had. Then I used my ruler to connect it to meet the end of the rectangle, using the curved part of the ruler. The next thing I did was to mark out 2 inches all through to be the length of the collar, and also use the curved ruler to connect the lines. So here is it. Note this down part is going to be the neck part, so you just go ahead to measure to get your neck width, what you actually measured divided by 2. For mine it was 16 inches and I got 8 inches. I also marked the same thing at the upper part. Then I connected to join the lines together before cutting it out. Don't forget to note the center part of the collar so you won't make a mistake. So guys, in order to cut out the collar on my fabric, I placed the pattern paper on the folded piece of fabric, making the center of the collar to be at the folded edge of the fabric. I pinned it up and then proceeded to cut it round, adding ½ inch all round. I also proceeded to cut out the second part of the collar because it will be having a facing. So this is it after cutting it. So I'll go ahead to just interface it with gum stay. This is what I have. I made use of a medium gum stay and I only interfaced on one side. So the next thing I'm going to do is to sew round with ½ inch. First, I had to fold it into 2 and try to curve the side, the upper part of the side, because I feel it will look better and nicer if it is curved. So at this point, I'll just go ahead to join it with ½ inch round. I made use of hemming gum in order to give it a neat finishing. Then I trimmed out the excesses before bringing it out to the right side and then proceeded to iron it out. Here's what I have after ironing it out. At the end of the day, I'm having about 2 inches. That means at the end, I'll be having 1.5 inch because I'll use ½ inch to turn the neck. So I'll just go ahead to attach the collar to the neck. First, I'll be attaching the part where I did not add any gum stay to the wrong side of the neckline, so I can turn it over and top stitch on the part where the gum stay is. I proceeded to pin it down first before taking it to the machine to join it with ½ inch. After joining the first part, here's what I have. I'll just go ahead to top stitch on the other part by folding it in with ½ inch. So I'll pin it down all around to the end, then I'll go ahead to sew it round off the camera. Here's the outcome after fixing the collar. As you can see, it's very neat. So the next thing I'll go ahead to do is to close the side. I'll be closing the side with 1 inch before hemming the down part. This is it guys after closing the side. So the final thing I'll be doing now is to fix the 2 pockets, which is actually the major style of this gown. So I've gone ahead to cut the 2 pockets. Here I have the length to be 12 inches and the width 10 inches. I'll be folding it in on both sides with hemming gum. So I'll just put hemming gum in between and go ahead to iron it on both sides and also at the down part. But for the up part, I'll just go ahead to sew it. But if you want, you can still use hemming gum. So here is it guys after doing that. As you can see, it's looking very neat. I ended up having the length to be 10 inches and the width 8.5 inches. So the next thing we'll be doing is to attach this organza to the down part and side of the pocket. I went ahead to take a very long organza and folded it into 2 and then sew the edge on both sides. So I'm trying to measure to let you know the width that I used. I made use of 2 yards and about 22 inches for each of this organza. You can actually use less than that, but I would advise that you use up to 1.5 yards at least. As for the length, I made use of 3.5 because I wanted to have at least 3 inches or 2.5 inches showing at the end of the day. I proceeded to measure around the pocket to confirm what I have, and then I'm going to be using the measurements to determine the gathers or ruffles that I will be making. So I'll just go ahead to my machine and sew the gathers in order to get the size for the pockets based on the measurement I took. If you like, you can make yours to be pleated. I wanted mine to be gathered. To start the gathers, I started from this edge to run it so that it will blend in. So I'll go ahead to run the gathers for both pockets and show you guys what I have. After running the gathers, this was what I had. So having confirmed to know that it is exactly the round part of this pocket, exception of the upper part, I'll just go ahead to put it under, but before then I will iron it up very well. Then I'm going to be putting it under by the edge. I'll just push it in with 1/2 inch and sew it round. I'll go ahead to pin it up first before taking it to my machine to sew it. If you've watched up to this point and you're yet to subscribe to my channel, please do well to subscribe. And also, if you've watched up to this point, write pocket on the comment section. I would like to give you a shout out in my next tutorial. This is how beautiful it's looking after I have gone ahead to sew on it. So I have done the same thing to this other part of the pocket. It's just left for us to attach the pocket. In order to attach the pocket, just go ahead and pin it up to the front side and then go ahead to sew it at that same line that you sewed the first time. So to get where you're placing your pocket, for mine, I left this side by 1 inch on both sides. And then for the length, I made use of 17 inches before pinning it down. I also went ahead to do the same thing for the other side of the pocket. I took out 1 inch at the side and measured 17 inches from the shoulder before pinning it down. Then I'll take it to my machine and sew it round on top of that first line that we use in attaching the gathers. So guys, the final thing we'll be doing is to sew out this rope that is just a fancy for the sleeves. I made mine to be 32 inches long. Now just go ahead to sew it and keep a space at the center where I'll bring it out. For the pocket, I'll go ahead to sew it out. So this is the rope. After sewing it, I'll just bring it out to the good part. This is how it looks like after attaching it to the front side. It's looking so beautiful and so neat. And this is actually the rope. I'm done at this point. In order to attach it, I folded it into 2 and sew it to the center of the sleeves. I'll go ahead to do the same thing to the other sleeves, and that'll be all for the making of this gown. Thank you guys for watching till the end. Please don't forget to give this video a like and also subscribe if you've not subscribed to the channel. See you guys in my next tutorial. Bye.